Half a month after Charles and I broke up, he posted a loving tweet with another girl. High-profile announcement. They were getting married in 2 months. I opened Instagram, blocked him completely, and opened a message box with a stranger to send a message. Marriage is fine, do it next month. I tossed my phone, lit a cigarette. I've never admitted defeat in my life. Charles had meticulously planned my birthday party. I thought 7 years of dedicated company would finally lead to his proposal. But in front of everyone, he said he was sorry, he was getting married, but the bride wasn't me. At that moment, I was blowing out candles and slicing a cake. If it wasn't for his buddy Daniel stopping me, the knife in my hand might have already stabbed him. Of course, the knife was plastic, and it wouldn't have hurt much, just like his feelings for me, seemingly solid but flimsy. Charles and I had been together for 5 years. To get close to him, to gain his affection, I smoothed out all my edges. Charles was a young master from a wealthy family. The only child. His temper wasn't great, but he had striking looks and eyes that could captivate anyone. Watching him on the basketball court, I was instantly drawn. From then on, I changed my appearance, grew my hair, swapped my leather outfit for ladylike dresses, and followed him closely, attending to his needs. All because of one sentence he said, "I like the girl next door type." I would cross half the city to get him a dessert he craved, or take a 300-mile cab ride on New Year's Eve just because he wanted to drink. During that period, I might have done everything a doormat would do. In retrospect, it's not shameful, just incredibly immature. He never officially acknowledged me, but the whole school assumed I was his girlfriend. Until graduation night, he drank till late at the party, and I helped him back afterward. He took my hand and we went directly to a hotel. In bed, he was incredibly gentle, completely different from his usual self. I let him take control without saying a word, like a sacrifice, until he called out another girl's name, Linda. As he finished, I threw my clothes at his face and was ready to leave. He hugged me from behind, tighter than ever before. He said, "Jenny, be my girlfriend. Come with me, I will marry you." I couldn't resist his gentle promise, so I even fell out with my parents, refusing the job they arranged, and went home with him with just a simple luggage. He never mentioned the girl named Linda again, and I didn't ask. Everyone has a past, right? I found a reason for myself. As long as he loved me now, it was enough. I gambled everything on believing that Charles was someone I could spend my life with. So, when he broke up with me at my birthday party, my first reaction, aside from throwing the cake knife at him, was to become speechless and unable to move. My heart, like the candles just burned out, instantly turned into ashes. That night I returned to our house and sat awake all night, sending him countless messages and guarded the phone. Even though my heart ached to the point of numbness, I still wanted an explanation. Perhaps it was the last bit of hope and stubbornness in me that still wished for him. But he never called or showed up, only a text message, "Jenny, you can stay in the house, I've transferred $500K to your account. You're sensible, so let's part decently. Don't come looking for me." This was the highest compliment he had ever given me in 7 years. I had never been one to bow down. Friends said women were made of water, but I was made of steel. But for Charles, I turned my steel-like resolve into pliable clay, letting him mold me. Yet, the $500K sum almost drained my last bit of strength, crushing my remaining dignity. To Charles, I was just an inexpensive, sensible backup. The last glimmer of hope was shattered. I found myself unable to cry out, tears rolling down like beads from a broken necklace, unable to wipe them away. That night was the hardest time in my life. I didn't even know how I got through it. By dawn, looking at my swollen eyes and disheveled hair in the mirror, I felt like a stranger. The next day I packed simple luggage and moved into a hotel. From the moment I checked in, I stopped crying. I started working again, clocking in, socializing, and managing projects, just like before. Word of my breakup with Charles soon spread in my social circle. My best friend Sophie called me 3 times a day, tirelessly. I knew she was afraid I'd do something drastic. I had once said if Charles left me, I couldn't live on. But don't worry, I'm fine, eating and sleeping well. I'm not going to die. I'm definitely not dying. After all these years, I'm no longer the immature Jenny who thought love was everything. And why should I seek death when he's got a new girl? That makes no sense. I, Jenny, must live better than him, only then will I be true to myself. Just as I hung up on Sophie, the phone rang again. Thinking it was her, I answered. Stop calling me. It's just a breakup. I'm fine. Jenny, Mom and Dad know about the breakup. Come home, okay? Came my mother's cautious voice from the other end. I paused, and after holding it for so long, tears began to stream down again. Over the years, I had wronged no one except my parents. When I stubbornly followed Charles, it almost severed my relationship with them. But in my hardest time, it was my parents who worried about me and wanted me to come home. I felt like a jerk, but I couldn't go back like this, not in this defeated state. I couldn't worry them any further. Mom, I'm doing well here. Work is going smoothly, and I'm about to get promoted. Don't worry. I'll visit once my project is done. Mom quickly agreed and then added, by the way, my classmate's son is in your area. You should meet him. I hadn't said anything yet when Mom quickly explained, it's good to make a new friend anyways, a doctor, and having someone to look out for you would ease my mind a bit. How could I let them worry so much? A pang of guilt hit me, and I didn't refuse anymore. I took the guy's contact info and arranged to meet him a few days later. I threw myself into work with even more effort than before and soon got assigned to a big project. They say you can be lucky in one area if you're unlucky in love, and I guess that's true for me. One rare early evening off, I was thinking of resting when a friend called, saying they were planning a small get-together to celebrate some good news. I hesitated for a moment, and my friend quickly added, don't worry. Charles isn't invited. Well, they said it so clearly, so I quickly changed clothes and headed over. I didn't expect my friend to be waiting at the door, looking awkward as he told me Charles was there too. I paused, then patted his shoulder, opened the door, and walked in the room. Went silent for a moment. I flipped my hair and smiled. What's the matter? Not used to it? I had cut my hair short and was wearing a cool outfit. It was a style Jenny loved but had never worn around Charles. After so many years of being lost, I was learning to be myself again, little by little. Charles took a few puffs of his cigarette, seemed to glance at me longer than usual, and then turned his head to talk to someone else. I found a spot to sit, drinking and singing with everyone. What's the big deal? I'm Jenny, I can handle it. It wasn't long before a girl I'd never seen came in, smiling sweetly. Sorry for coming so late, but Charles hasn't come home yet, and I was worried. Charles immediately brought her to his side. The crowd protested, saying he shouldn't have brought her in. Charles apologized, raised a glass, and said, I'll drink as an apology. That scene was a flashback to my past. I had also worried about Charles and gone to find him, only to be rudely told off by him. The difference was, I didn't get the protection from Charles that this girl did. In hindsight, maybe Charles wasn't annoyed but was dismissive because it was me. Because it was me, he didn't cherish it. Because it was me, he could be careless. I sighed in relief, glad those days were behind me. The shaking lights made my head spin. I stood up, holding a glass, feeling everyone's nosy gazes, even Charles's. He probably thought I was going to make a scene. I smiled calmly, here's to everyone. Someone's waiting for me, so I won't stay long. I downed my drink and walked out the door. Of course, no one was waiting for me, I just needed an excuse to leave. Suddenly, I wanted a cigarette, so I headed to the balcony. I didn't expect someone to already be there. I was about to leave when he stepped aside, so I pulled out a cigarette. Mind if I join you? He shook his head. I lit my cigarette, watching the glow flicker, chuckling to myself. I thought Charles was heartless, but it turned out he could be considerate to others. Footsteps echoed from the hallway, and the balcony door opened. Charles's cold voice reached me. Jenny, you didn't take the $50,000 to make me feel guilty and keep pestering me, did you? I was stunned. He thought I was pestering him? How is that possible? I'm Jenny. I can take it or leave it. Once I've decided to leave, I won't look back. I closed my eyes briefly, then opened them with a clear vision. I smiled slightly. Mr. Charles, I just consider the past few years a lost cause. Today, I'm here with my boyfriend, just making a side trip to see some friends. I pointed to the man beside me, who was in the shadows. Charles, standing against the light, couldn't see him. I was a bit nervous but didn't let it show. My pride wouldn't allow me to back down in front of Charles. Thank goodness he didn't say much more, and I relaxed a bit. Charles's face darkened instantly. It took you just a few days to find another man? Can't you stand being alone? Just a reminder, we're already broken up. What I do now is none of your business. I said it much more calmly than I imagined I could. There was a brewing storm in Charles's eyes, and I could feel his anger clearly. Was he angry? I lowered my head, smiling faintly. It didn't matter, I didn't care anymore. That girl came out to find him then, her voice soft and gentle, the type he liked, much better than my pretense. They left hand in hand. Before leaving, Charles gave me a warning glance. I knew he was warning me not to pester him anymore. How could I? I'd made one mistake and wouldn't make a second one. A sound beside me reminded me there was still someone else there. I quickly thanked him. How embarrassing, having a stranger witness such a humiliating scene. Then he stepped out of the shadows, and I saw his face. I'd never seen such a composed man, with a touch of scholarly air. He smiled slightly. No need to thank me, you didn't bother me. And then he left. A few days later, it was time for the arranged meeting. After work, I went to the cafe and saw a familiar-looking man waving at me from by the window. It was the same man from the balcony that day. Turns out, he was Alan, my blind date. This was the ultimate facepalm moment. Even if I wasn't truly interested in a blind date, having my date witness my breakup was beyond awkward. I hesitated, but he pushed a coffee toward me, just the right temperature and my favorite Blue Mountain. I loved the taste, sour with a hint of sweetness. Charles never liked Blue Mountain, saying it was too sour, so I hadn't had it since living with him. But how did Alan know I liked Blue Mountain? I looked up in surprise, and he seemed to read my mind. I asked your mom in advance. Oh, I see. What a considerate and gentlemanly man. He's been avoiding the topic, so I tried to forget about that embarrassing night. I quickly changed the subject. Mr. Alan, someone as outstanding as you, why would you come to a blind date? Alan put down his coffee. To be honest, I just got out of a relationship. I got dumped. I was surprised. It's rare for a man to be this honest. I couldn't help but laugh. What a coincidence, I just got dumped too. We both laughed. Alan shared some funny stories from his hospital. Gradually, I relaxed. Soon, the steak arrived. I started eating without hesitation. It felt great not having to pretend to be ladylike. After all, Alan had already seen me at my worst. Nothing I did would surprise him. Do you still believe in love? Alan asked suddenly. I nodded. Of course, I just haven't met the right person. It's not love's fault. Alan looked at me with bright eyes. He pointed to the corner of my mouth, so I quickly wiped off the sauce. I've thought about what it would be like after getting married. 2 people, 1 cat, 1 dog. The house doesn't have to be big. We can each do our own thing, and travel together during holidays. Alan smiled, his eyes showing something I couldn't quite understand. She didn't like my cat and complained that I was too busy with work. What a reason, I laughed. Everyone has their own story. When I finished eating, Alan didn't remind me this time. He just reached over and wiped my mouth for me. I was stunned for a moment and then heard him say, I think we two are quite compatible. What do you think? I didn't want to jump into a new relationship too quickly, so I told Alan I needed more time to think about it. Alan drove me home. When we arrived at the hotel, he frowned slightly. I felt the need to explain. I'd been busy with work. I planned to find a place when I had more time. Alan pondered for a moment. I'm on vacation right now. I can help you find a place. I thought about it and agreed. After all, I really had no time. Mom was right, having more friends is convenient. I didn't expect Alan to move so quickly. Early the next morning, he told me to pack up and prepare to move. The new place was near my office, closer than the hotel I transferred the rent to Alan. He told me the landlord had only one condition: I had to live alone and couldn't bring anyone back. I readily agreed. I took a half-day off to move. When I showed up in front of him with just one suitcase, I could see his surprise. When we got to the new place, I realized it was already spotless. My half-day off was wasted. Alan and I stood in the living room, staring at each other. I rolled up my sleeves. To thank you, I'll cook dinner tonight. We went to a nearby supermarket to buy groceries. I didn't expect to run into Charles there. Didn't he hate supermarkets? How does he have the patience now? When Charles turned around, I saw the girl holding his arm. She smiled sweetly and leaned on him happily. No wonder. Only someone who captures Charles's heart could change his mind. Alan grabbed my hand on the shopping cart. Be careful, he said gently. When he took over the cart, I snapped out of it. I'm fine. But by then, Charles had already noticed us and walked over, his expression changing. What are you doing here? Before I could speak, Alan tightened his grip on my hand. I'm here shopping with Jenny. I was a little surprised. Did they know each other? Charles's face turned strange as he glanced between Alan and me, looking annoyed. So it was you that day? Alan nodded slightly. Yeah, it was me. The girl next to Charles asked curiously, Charles, who is this? Still staring at me, Charles replied without blinking, this is my uncle. I never imagined the world could be this small. Alan was Charles's uncle. As we walked past, Charles whispered, Jenny, you're something else. I knew Charles must think I was intentionally getting close to Alan, still clinging to him. My eyelashes fluttered as I retorted, Charles, do you really think you're worth it? I didn't finish my sentence, but I believed he understood. Charles turned around, disbelief on his face. I walked away with Alan, without looking back. I didn't see Charles's sudden scowl or the fists he clenched tightly for dinner. I made a few of my best dishes. Alan praised my cooking, saying my mom told him I couldn't cook. Of course, my mom didn't know I honed my cooking skills for Charles, just to keep him from getting sick from eating out all the time. Unfortunately, he never appreciated it, just thought it was my duty to care for him. There were no such things as duties, just my willingness to compromise for Charles. I smiled at Alan and said politely, if there's a chance, I'll cook for you again. Alan smiled back, I'd really like that. I didn't know he was serious until he was leaving. Jenny, think about it. I really believe we're a good match. Our relationship could go further. I asked him for more time. Back in the apartment, lying on the couch scrolling through Twitter, I saw a post that almost froze my blood. Charles had posted a lovey-dovey photo with that girl, just half a month after our breakup, announcing their marriage in 2 months. The girl's smile was so sweet, and in the comments, a mutual friend said, "Isn't this Linda? Congratulations on getting what you wanted." Linda, getting what she wanted. Those words nearly shattered me. It felt like someone was ripping my wounds open all over again. My vision almost went black. It turned out the person Charles was going to marry was her, Linda, his first love. So Charles had been lying to me all along. He never forgot Linda. So for the past 7 years, the 7 years I've been with him, was I just a substitute? The girl next door he liked was never me, it was always Linda. In the dead of night, when Charles held me, did he ever feel guilty? Yeah, in his eyes, I'm just a woman who tried every way to cling to him, someone who could be dismissed with $500,000. With trembling hands, I opened Instagram, blocked Charles completely, then opened Alan's chat and sent a message. I agreed, but the condition is we get married next month. I threw away the phone and lit a cigarette. Jenny, have never admitted defeat in my life. Alan didn't respond, but half an hour later, the doorbell rang. I opened the door, and there was Alan. He came in, looking more serious than usual. "Have you thought it through?" I met his eyes. "Yes, I have. You think I'm suitable, and I want to find the right person to marry. Love is the most ephemeral thing, like sand. The more you want to grab it, the quicker it slips away. It's better to just let go. It makes happiness easier." Alan didn't hesitate. "All right, I agree, my wife." That day, his lips curved into a victorious smile, as if he had won something. I understood. To him, I was just as suitable, the best choice. This was for the best, so no one owed anyone. Alan moved fast, given the tight timeline. He asked for my guest list, and our invitations went out quickly. My friends were dumbfounded when they got the invite. They hastily asked how I found such a perfect man. I had no explanation, so I gave a vague response. Soon after, I got a call from Charles. I watched the phone ring and then hung up and blocked him. But I didn't expect him to show up at my office entrance. What's meant to come can't be avoided. I pulled him into a nearby alley. Charles had a gloomy look on his face. "Jenny, you guys have only known each other for a month and you're getting married. Don't think I don't know what you're up to." He leaned against the wall behind me, bringing me closer, and I could see the anger in his eyes clearly. "Do you think marrying him will connect you to my family? You think you can become my stepmom? Do you even have that qualification?" I looked up at him, slowly curved my lips. Charles fell silent but glared at me intensely. "Do you think this is about you?" "Charles, don't flatter yourself. I'm marrying Alan. We'll support each other and grow old together. What does that have to do with you?" I watched the color drain from his face bit by bit in front of me. This wasn't over. I continued, "And besides, whether I'm qualified or not isn't for you to say, it's Alan's call. You got the invite, didn't you? Do you know what that means?" He knew, so he pressed his lips tightly and left. I didn't go home. I went straight to the hospital. Alan had a surgery today, and I planned to eat with him afterward. But just when Alan exited the surgery room, I heard a scream. A man with a knife was charging at us, yelling something I couldn't hear clearly. He was targeting Alan, who was still in his surgical suit. There was nothing around to block him with, just my handbag. Without thinking, I swung it at the man's face, which only angered him and made me his target. Seeing the knife getting closer and closer, I tripped and fell. Alan kicked the man's wrist, knocking the knife away. Security arrived in time to subdue him. Sitting on the ground, my heart was still pounding. Alan checked me for injuries, then looked at me with a hint of curiosity. He was coming at me. "Why were you so anxious?" "What kind of question is that? How could I not be anxious? You were empty-handed. At least I had a bag." I grabbed his hand to stand up. "Besides, your hands are for surgery. They can't get hurt." I started walking away, but Alan didn't follow immediately. Turning back, I saw Alan looking at his own hand, lost in thought. I called his name, and he smiled slowly, then came over and held my hand. I asked what he was smiling at, but he didn't answer. On the way to the parking garage, he explained that the attacker's relative had died in the hospital, and he wanted revenge on the doctors. My family didn't want me to be a doctor. They wanted me to go into business. I fought for years before they gave in. Alan fastened my seatbelt. "You're the first person who thought to protect my hands." He kissed me lightly on the cheek. "Books say the person you most want to protect during a crisis is the one you care about the most." Staring at Alan, I saw my reflection in his eyes, shining brightly. "Jenny, I think we could be more than just a good match." Before I could fully understand what he meant, we arrived at his place. The decor was elegant and simple. Soon, a pretty cat peeked around the corner. She rubbed against me. I picked her up and started petting her. We got along quickly. Alan watched us with a hint of affection in his eyes. "Her name is Cherry. Go feed her some cat food. I'll make dinner." My eyes lit up. Was there really such a good thing, cats to pet and someone to cook? I quickly agreed. The evening was really enjoyable. Alan drove me home. Before he left, he told me there was a family gathering in a few days, and he wanted me to meet his family. It was my first time meeting the parents, so I was a bit nervous. My first reaction was to change to a more gentle hairstyle or a more ladylike dress, but Alan stopped me. He held my hand and shook his head, saying, "You're perfect just the way you are. There's no need to change anything. You being here is the best arrangement." Alan's hand was warm. It made my heart feel warm too. I used to change myself to please Charles, never thinking that there's a man who would say I am the best arrangement. It felt really good. I arrived at Alan's family villa with him. I didn't expect there to be so many people at Alan's home, all dressed elegantly and speaking with grace. It was then I remembered that Alan was Charles's younger uncle, and his family was quite well off. Alan held my hand tightly and introduced me to his family with great care. They were all very kind. I knew their kindness came from Alan's regard for me. Since that night, his attitude towards me had changed a lot. I finally understood what he meant. "Jenny, I think we're more than just compatible." Is that why he arranged for this family gathering? I couldn't help but look up at Alan. He smiled and nodded at me. For some reason, my cheeks felt a bit warm. It felt really good to be treated with such importance. The only exception was Charles. He had been sulky since we walked in. For some reason, I didn't see Linda. She should have been there. After dinner, Alan had some matters to discuss with the elders, so I took a walk in the garden. As I walked to a secluded spot, I suddenly saw a tall figure in front of me. I knew it was Charles. But I couldn't see his expression as he stood against the light. Charles's voice sounded heavy. "Jenny, please don't marry Alan. I know you're mad at me. You still have feelings for me." In the past, I would have been flustered if someone saw right through my feelings. But after being with Alan, I found my confidence again, my self-worth. Charles was still the same, proud and self-centered. He never really understood me. I smiled and took 2 steps back. "Charles, you can't give me happiness now. Someone else can, and I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore." I turned to leave, but he grabbed my arm. Charles's grip tightened, and I could feel his restraint and trembling. "Jenny, if I say I love you, will you come back to me?" I sighed. Was it really necessary? There were too many hurts and grievances between us. Like cracks, once formed, they couldn't be mended. Besides, I no longer loved him. I freed myself from Charles's hand. "It's over. We can't go back." Before leaving, I looked at Charles, who stood there as if petrified, and said softly, "Charles, you're just unwilling to accept it. Don't come looking for me again." As soon as I entered the house, I saw Alan rushing over. I rarely saw Alan look anxious. He quickly hugged me. "There are many bugs in the garden. Let me show you my room." Saying that, he led me upstairs. Passing a balcony, I saw the garden below and suddenly understood. Once inside the room, I blocked Alan against the door with a smile. "Did you see something?" He wrapped his arm around my waist, with a hint of helplessness in his eyes. "Jenny, don't make a fuss, we're at home." I raised an eyebrow. "Alan, dear." "Alan, let me ask you again. Were you jealous?" Alan didn't avoid it this time. "Yes, I was." I didn't expect him to admit it so readily. Alan's face slowly came closer to mine, and I could almost hear my own heartbeat. So rapid, so joyful. Alan's kiss was gentle and encompassing. I slowly got lost in it, feeling like I was drowning. And in that moment, I only heard one thing. "I like you." Tears welled up in my eyes. After wandering the desert for so long, I'd finally found an oasis. After the kiss, Alan began to show me around the room. Apart from medical books, there were many on finance. I was just discussing this with the elders earlier. Besides my work at the hospital, I have many investments. I've organized everything, and in the future, we'll manage it together. Alan's smile was warm and firm. I knew this was his promise. His future included me. I bit my lip and looked up slightly. "Alan, I initially wanted to marry you because..." Alan reached out and stopped me from continuing. I've known all along. It doesn't matter. Just let me be the only one in your heart from now on. I nodded firmly. Maybe all my previous misfortunes were meant to lead me to Alan. I saw a photo in a frame, a picture of Charles playing basketball in college. Like discovering a new world, I called Alan over and pointed to myself in the corner. What a coincidence. So you had a picture of me from way back then? I looked at him with a smile, but Alan's face showed a bit of nostalgia instead of a smile. He took the photo. I was originally supposed to take pictures of Charles's game. But I captured you by chance. At that moment, I thought, this girl with bright eyes is really pretty. Right after that, I had a big fight with my family over studying medicine and went abroad the next day. When I finally had time to find you, you had already graduated and became Charles's girlfriend. I was surprised and looked at Alan with amazement. He pulled me to sit down. I recognized you when we met at the club's balcony. I didn't expect to overhear your breakup. I was just trying to figure out how to approach you when my mom arranged that blind date. I didn't want to go, but then I saw your photo. Oh, I see. So that's why when I said he was my boyfriend, he didn't expose the lie. Alan brushed my hair aside and planted a kiss on my forehead. After all this time and all these twists and turns, it's still us. We are meant to be together. Since we confirmed our feelings for each other, Alan would pick me up whenever he had time. When he was busy, he often called. I didn't have to be constantly on edge or try to please him. He completely accepted me. I felt a long-lost ease. That day, at my place, it was already late. After we finished dinner, Alan asked if he could stay over. My face flushed. I knew I was blushing. Alan ruffled my hair. What are you thinking? I'll sleep in the guest room. A bit embarrassed, I avoided his gaze. The landlord doesn't allow guests to stay over. Other people can't, but the landlord can. Alan looked at me with a smile. It dawned on me, it explained why he found the apartment so quickly. The days that followed were filled with fitting wedding dresses, booking the reception, everything busy yet fulfilling. It was only after letting go of the past that I realized happiness and joy could be so simple. But on the night before our wedding, I suddenly had severe stomach pains. Alan rushed me to the hospital, and he swiftly took charge. When the results came back, Alan laughed and cried at the same time. It's acute appendicitis. Miss Jenny, you'll need a minor surgery. You won't be able to get married tomorrow. I was speechless for a while. Perhaps this was fate's punishment, making me undergo surgery on the day I was supposed to get married, but it didn't bother me anymore. The wedding date didn't matter to me now. With a sigh, I told Alan, Mr. Alan, it seems you can't get married tomorrow either. Alan gave a practiced smile. So, same for both of us. We're really destined, aren't we? I laughed, which made my body hurt, causing me to wince. Alan hugged me and whispered in my ear, don't be afraid, you have me. The surgery was quick. For Alan, it was a simple procedure. During my hospital stay, Alan visited me whenever he had time. His colleagues at the hospital had never seen him like this and couldn't help but joke about it. He was so busy that he even looked a bit haggard. Our wedding was postponed. Many people called to ask, and Alan handled everything, letting me rest and recover. Charles came when Alan wasn't around. I was a bit surprised to see him. He had dark circles under his eyes and looked more haggard than Alan. Thanks for visiting. I am almost ready to leave the hospital. I realized I could now speak to Charles calmly. Charles sat on the chair next to my bed, his eyes full of pain. My wedding was cancelled. I'm not marrying Linda. Charles was always confident, but now he looked downcast. It was strange seeing him like this. That's really a pity. I didn't know what to say, so I just sighed. Charles looked at me, slowly sliding off the chair until he was practically kneeling. Jenny, after you left, I felt like a part of me was missing. I thought I just wasn't used to it, but even when I announced my wedding with Linda, I couldn't fill that void. You said I was just being stubborn, but I really love you. I can't live without you. I know I realized it too late, but could you give me another chance? I looked at Charles, tears streaming down his face. His pain was so real, but all I could do was sigh. Those days when he controlled my emotions felt like a lifetime ago. Softly, I said, "Charles, no one waits forever. Missing it means it's gone." It was a long time before Charles stood up, looking lost. He left before Alan returned. I watched his back, dazed. I often watched his back before, but I'd never seen it so heavy. Just then, I fell into a warm embrace. Alan had come in at some point. "It's all in the past now." I smiled. "It's all in the past." After my recovery, I suddenly had no desire for a wedding ceremony. I planned to elope. Alan went along with everything. He took time off work, and we boarded a plane abroad. We kissed in flower fields, held hands in the deep sea, and embraced at sunset. When our vacation ended, we returned. I couldn't help but feel sentimental. The old Jenny used to hide herself, pretending to be what others liked, thinking that risking everything would bring happiness. But she finally understood, someone who loves you will love every part of you, without you having to be so careful. I suddenly remembered something. Didn't your ex leave you because you were always busy? How do you have so much time off now? Alan ruffled my hair. You married me, so I have to make time. I can't let my wife run away. I couldn't help but laugh. Alan held my hand with one hand and our luggage with the other. We hurried home. Later, I learned that Charles indeed didn't marry Linda. Linda went abroad again. I heard he remained quiet for a long time. Because of Alan's family, we ended up having a wedding ceremony after all. It was grand, and we received everyone's blessings. Seeing my mom smiling with teary eyes, I felt completely fulfilled. During the toasts, I saw Charles. He seemed much more mature, holding his glass steadily, and congratulated me. Alan and I accepted the toast. As we left, I heard Charles say behind me, "I'm sorry, and I wish you happiness." Alan squeezed my hand and said, "Thank you." I let him lead me forward, toward our future and happiness. Being right isn't so bad. Love always shows up when you still believe in it. Charles's epilogue. The biggest mistake of my life was pushing away the person I loved the most. I gave Jenny $500,000 and told her to stop bothering me. Countless nights after, I regretted it so much, I could hardly breathe from the pain but found no way out. When Jenny moved out, I was with Linda. Linda returned suddenly, and when she appeared in front of me, my heart skipped a beat. The unfulfilled desires from my youth surged back like a tidal wave, and I ended up with her. Not long after, Linda wanted to get married, and I agreed, proposing to her during my birthday. I definitely saw Jenny's heartbroken look. The plastic knife she used was harmless, but I knew it was a symbol of her true heart. She laid her heart bare, tossed it to me, and I watched it fall to the ground, covered in dust. The days with Jenny hadn't been eventful for a while. The gratitude I once felt when she gave up everything to move to this city with me had long faded away. I convinced myself not to feel guilty. Jenny loved me so much, being with me this long should be enough for her. Unfortunately, I didn't understand that it wasn't just calm, it was a deep, bone-penetrating love, woven into every corner of my life, like eating, drinking, and breathing. Casual, unnoticed, but essential. I recalled those days countless times, and each time the thought froze my blood and made me shiver. When I heard Jenny had a boyfriend, I sneered. She couldn't possibly let go of me and would find ways to win me back. But when I found out the guy was my Uncle Alan, I lost my composure. Alan had always been the pride of the family, leading a flawless life, except for his marriage situation. Linda asked who he was, and I had to introduce them nonchalantly. I couldn't stop watching Jenny. She was so calm, aloof, and unfamiliar, nothing like the person I remembered. Then I saw Alan holding her hand. Alan was determined. Once he set his mind on something, he'd do it, like when the family opposed his medical career, he cut ties with them until they compromised. In that moment, I felt panicked, then rage consumed me, but I couldn't question anything. That night, lying next to Linda, her arms around me, I couldn't stop thinking about Jenny. I realized I couldn't bear her coldness or her being with someone else. Linda hugged me tighter, suggesting we set a date for the wedding, and I agreed. Not because I wanted to marry Linda, but I was waiting for Jenny to beg me not to. She loved me for so many years, she couldn't let me marry someone else, could she? But soon, I got an invite from Jenny and Alan, personally delivered by Alan himself. My uncle Alan had already decided on the marriage without consulting anyone. Of course, the family wouldn't have opposed his choice anyway. Alan looked at me with no expression. Charles, you know what to do, right? I knew, I was supposed to disappear from their lives, but I couldn't accept it. Jenny was mine. She should be mine. I confronted Jenny. She casually told me she'd grow old with Alan. Her words hit me like a hammer, pain spreading through my veins, making me almost lose balance. How could I watch her grow old with someone else? I hadn't figured out how to make things right with Jenny, but I saw her at a family gathering. She stood with Alan, they looked perfect together. The family accepted her quickly. Watching her, she seemed like her old bright and lively self, but I felt estranged. I realized I hadn't seen this side of her for a long time. When we first met on the college basketball court, she shyly offered me water. Charles, want some water? Another girl with a crush on me, I took the water and her heart easily. How long since I last noticed Jenny's expressions, her emotions? Driven by instinct, I found her and begged her to come back. Dropping all pride, she said I was just being jealous. But if it was just jealousy, how could it keep me up at night? I broke up with Linda afterward. She slapped me hard. Charles, you don't deserve love. Her words felt like a curse, but I was numb. True, I didn't deserve it. Once, I had the purest love, but I lost it. Much later, I bowed my head, but tears wouldn't stop. I was desperately missing Jenny. When I heard their wedding was cancelled, joy overwhelmed me. But the next moment, I plunged into despair. Jenny was sick. The wedding was just postponed. Seeing her again, I let go of all my pride, begging her to return, confessing my love. She remained calm, her eyes void of emotion, treating me like a stranger. No going back. Those words shattered all my hopes. I don't remember how I left the room. Outside, I saw Alan waiting. He smiled gently. Charles, don't you see? Jenny loves me now, you need to find your own happiness. I saw the light in Jenny's eyes when she looked at Alan. I ran away. I've been a wreck for a long time. I stayed home and drank. Only alcohol could numb my pain, make it hurt a little less inside. But missing her was too painful. I found a mutual friend of Jenny and mine and begged him to let me see his phone. He sighed, but he couldn't refuse me. He asked me why I was doing this to myself. He said he was the one who invited Jenny that day. She didn't have a boyfriend at all. What did I say that day? Jenny, are you refusing that 50 grand just to make me feel guilty and keep dragging me along? I crushed her dignity. It was my own hands that pushed her away, to someone else. I saw Jenny's Twitter. She was smiling so brightly, so happily, a look she never had with me. I only made her cry, made her sad, broke her heart. Linda was right, I didn't deserve anyone's love. Losing her was the best punishment for me that night. I drank for the last time. Under the influence, I fell into a deep sleep. In my dreams, it seemed like I went back in time, back to when Jenny and I were together. I didn't lose my temper at her. I carefully cherished every moment with her. I did everything to show her I loved her. But as dawn broke, the dream vanished. Back to reality, I opened my eyes to a cold room and suffocating despair. I deleted everything about Jenny on my phone. But what good did that do? She was still in my mind. When I closed my eyes, it was her face that I saw. One day, I was desperate to see her again. I got someone to restore my phone data. I started reading through our old messages. I realized I really had experienced such a wonderful love. I knew I'd never forget her. Later on, I joined the family business, started learning to be mature, filling my time with work, just like she used to when she was with me. She wasn't very career-minded, but my neglect left her with only her work to turn to. She ended up becoming a strong, successful woman. When Jenny and Alan had their wedding ceremony, I went. Watching them approach, I pushed down all my emotions and raised my glass to wish her happiness. Jenny seemed a bit surprised, then she smiled at me. She and Alan graciously accepted my blessing. She'll become like family. I'll watch her be happy. I know this is the best distance for us. She'll talk to me, she'll smile at me. Even if it's like drinking poison, even if I'm forever trapped in this love that will never see the light, I'm willing. I brought this all on myself.